Hello, everyone, and welcome to the writer's class. And I waited for the little red dot.
Did you though?
Wait, did you?
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. Oh,
That wasn't.
oh man.
It was. Did you see me laughing? So therefore, it's not.
It was pretty funny. It was like a really gotcha moment, which I'm sorry, I had to do it today. It's like it's cold and like dreary outside. I have to amuse myself somehow. Not sitting in the sun.
A fire before we got on.
But that's still not a. I mean, first of all, I don't want people to think I'm burning down anything. Like it's actually like a fireplace. Like we're good. Why would you?
Remember,
weird. Like yeah, she built a fire. She just wanted to see how long we could have this and not die.
Just remember, stop, drop, and roll.
right. That. Stop, drop.
Not only is this now just the beginning of our show, there's also a PSA in there.
Oh my goodness.
To put it out, you stop, drop, and roll.
Oh,
thank you so much, Donald. Okay, so we should hurry up so we can actually introduce him. And I'm Winona.
Okay, and I love when our guests just like throw things in like that. That's great. So right, and right. We wrote literally Life Guides of Pop Poetry. Yeah, y'all, we actually have something to say that maybe sort of kind of makes sense.
It's important. I wrote it, so I'm gonna say it's important.
Of course you are, sister, narcissist. And I thought the voice was bad with other life lessons, and I thought being grown up was easy. And if only I would be a memoir, but all available and narrated by the wonderful Joe Sands. All available on audible.com. And let's see, we have other books, but y'all can find out everything your ladies are doing. And like all the things that we have written and you may or may not want to read.
3 more of the other ones.
Okay, yeah. If you're on the podcast, go to the blog. You'll see it at www.andwethought.com, or
you can get all of this abbreviated at www.andithoughtladies.com.
We have a co-host today. Co-host.
Hello, this is Tanya Todd. I'm an author, actress, and podcast host from Las Vegas.
And one day, I love how she says that. One day, we're gonna do segues on this show. You know, so it doesn't sound so choppy, but. Today is not
today.
All right, so we have y'all out here to hear about.
This is a segue. This is our segue right here.
Oh, y'all out here to hear about us. You're here to hear from my wonderful guest.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Don Evans. I'm a writer, editor, teacher, and I am the founding executive director of the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame. I live in Chicago with my wife, Margaret, and my son, Dusty. And Dusty is now 17, which is shocking to me. And we're, just trying to get along during the pandemic. I don't have a lot more to say because I figure with all the questions you guys have coming, it'll unfold like a plot. I was thinking about this just a couple minutes before I got on here, and I put together a few of my own thoughts. So during the course of the show, I'll share them to you. You can give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, but they're yours if you want them.
Okay.
Like number one, I thought the flu was bad.
That's great.
That is great.
I love it.
I like that one.
I feel like we should just go through the list at the top.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, do it. Let's hear it.
You want more of them now?
Yeah. Let's go through them. Let's do it.
All right. So that's okay. I thought no meant no.
It does mean no.
I thought the Zoom was a new dance craze.
Yeah, I love that one. Did you just say the Zoom? Oh, I love it. An article in front of Zoom. This is
yes.
I thought nobody could see below the waist.
Oh boy. Yeah, it's true.
So someone learned to put pants on them because of this?
Yeah, I think so.
This is upsetting. Okay, so we should ask a question.
No, he has some more.
Okay.
And I have like a question.
All right, I'll just do one. Let's see. And then last one, I thought we went over this already.
I feel like that is a book title, like Waiting to Happen. And I thought we went over this already.
Okay, yeah, we gotta write that.
Yeah, I feel like that's a book title, Waiting to Happen.
That could be your own anthology, best pieces from all of your other works.
I like it very much, and I'm going to say I have to start it off with the silliest question, and then everyone's gonna get into the great question. But let's talk Chicago and food. Where are like your top 3 places that you love to eat? Because I love Chicago.
Oh, it's a hard question because it's been like a year and a month since we've been in a restaurant. And so, yeah, Chicago is a extraordinary place for food. and it's hard to, so here's the problem with answering questions about Chicago is, when you look at the TV show, right? So Tanya, you're an actress, you're in a show set in Chicago, and they have the developing shot, right? The establishing shot of the L and the beautiful lake. And when people come to Chicago, they stay downtown. But Chicago is a massive city, and there's like 400 different Chicagos all in one. So, if you want to eat Mexican food, there's like 25 great options in the Pilsen neighborhood.
I like it very much.
There are great steak places. Gibson's probably one of my better steak places that I like for pizza. And again, just because we live in Chicago, we don't spend all day eating Italian beef and deep dish pizza, but we work it into the rotation a little bit. My favorite is Lou Malnati's. Lou Malnati started out as a single independent place, and it's become a chain like all of the great pizza places in Chicago. And let's see, if I had to pick, there's a great place for Italian nights. This isn't exactly food, but I love Mario's in Little Italy on Taylor Street.
I'm writing that
down.
Dr. Ken, we're writing this down.
Yes, sir.
You thought you were being interviewed because of your work in the literary field, but really they are just scoping out different places to eat once we can travel again.
Okay, seriously though.
No, not even once we can travel again. Because we get a Taste of Chicago box once a month.
From where?
From Chicago. Yeah.
Who
So
sent
we
it
get
to
the
you?
hot dogs mailed in. We get the Illuminati's pizza, whatever.
We're gonna
We get their pizza mailed in. Italian beef, ribs.
But what I'm saying
From
is,
whom?
you had to
mailing it?
You had to somehow activate this box coming to you, right?
Yeah, and so somebody told us when 2 years ago in a grocery store, and they were like, "Oh, you love Chicago? You need to go to tasteofchicago.com."
And so we did. First, we went to the actual Taste of Chicago, like the festival that you have out there. We did our entire summer vacation around it.
Yes,
so
we
went
did.
out there and we stayed out there for all the days that it ran.
Yes, we did.
And
then packed sweatpants the whole time. There was no happening there. We were here to eat.
So we ate at the place, and then we ate when we went back to, because we don't stay downtown. We stay in the different suburbs of Chicago. So we eat all those, and then we come in and we eat food on our way in. And so, we went to tastechicago.com, and there was all this food, and we just order it.
Going to the Taste of Chicago every day is a real commitment because it's like 11 days, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a commitment that we were willing to commit.
Very happy to do it. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, so Tanya's going to have some questions, and they're going to be good questions and not about Chicago food.
But before we get started, let me just go with, how did the Literary Hall of Fame get started?
Well, I had been living in London for about 3 years. My wife had taken a lateral transfer out there, and so we moved there. Initially, we were going to stay there for a year, and that was during the economic bust. Seemed no good reason to come back right away, so we stayed a little longer. Then Margaret got pregnant, and Dusty was born out there and stayed there for a year. So we were there for about 3 years. And while we were there, because we knew we had a limited amount of time, we wanted to try to see as much of the continent as possible, especially since my wife had work in various places like Amsterdam and Paris and all over Europe. And so we would try to piggyback on her schedule and go to these places. And so I organized a lot of my touring of Europe around the great literary sites. And so, in London, you could see Charles Dickens' house, you could see Shakespeare's house. In Ireland, you could see Brendan Behan and Yeats and so forth. All over Europe, the countries really honored their great writers. If Charles Dickens, took a piss in some bathroom somewhere, there's a blue plaque up there, right?
Right.
And so I started collecting these mugs everywhere I went. So I had a mug for the James Joyce house and so forth and so on. Came back to Chicago and found that there wasn't really much evidence left of our great writers. Like there was occasional little homage here and there, but not really much. And so I was asked to be on the board of directors for the Chicago Writers Association. It was a new organization then. they asked every board member to bring in a project. I brought in that thinking, here, I'll give it to the board and everybody will do what they want with it. And it turned out to be my project, and it just grew and grew and grew till we split off from there, formed our own nonprofit, got an official board and tried to raise money and all that stuff. So it started with just, I got asked to do something, and before I really thought about it, I was up to my ears in the Hall of Fame.
So what are your duties for it? What's your role?
So my role is all of the above, really, so everything from organizing and planning and executing our programming, which includes award ceremonies and different events like this coming up on April 24th, which is Independent Bookstore Day. We're going to be going around Chicago to different independent bookstores via Zoom, and we're going to be, talking to the owners, or they're going to be talking to us about, some of the things going on, what's been happening during the pandemic, how they've been surviving. My friend Jim Garner, the great comedic writer, is going to host it, and so I'll have a little role in that. But so planning it, planning the award ceremonies, the voting process, working with the board of directors. We have this great, well-accomplished board of directors that does a lot of work, but raising money, sending thank you notes. I mean, if somebody's got somebody breaks a glass and it's got to be swept up, that's me too.
Wow, that's a lot of work, but it sounds like it's really important.
Well, yeah, I think it's important, or I wouldn't keep doing it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it should have been done long before you, don't you think? There are just so many people who came out of Chicago, but it is really wonderful that you get to be a part of it. This is going to be part of your legacy,
Yeah, and it's entertaining. It's a lot of work, but it's amusing, and it also is a way to form a community. And and because I have such a wide scope of duties and so much ability to do what I want, the board can they can strike me down, but that doesn't happen a lot. If we've got the money to do something, we usually do it, as long as it fits into the Chicago literary ecosphere. But it also is a way to collaborate with people and get to know people and meet them, and so a lot of times, as a writer, you spend your days in isolation. So a lot of writers also teach, and they're in their classroom, and then they're at home with their family, they're writing. If they're editors, they're home writing. And so in the age of academia, people escape into their universities, but then there's not there's not those places where writers really gather organically anymore. But this gives us a lot of different ways to gather and to do things together and collaborate and to share. And so that is really rewarding.
So as you were talking about, there's not a lot of places where you gather as writers. So do you think that as a writer community, we could do better with that? And if so, how?
We could drink more.
Yeah, well, I do. Yeah, 2 thumbs up for that one.
I don't know. It's some of these things, that we're nostalgic about, whether it be about the days when the writers used to, go to the same, bars and get drunk together, or, whether it's thinking about your old neighborhood. And they were great for their time, but, there's reasons why they're not like that anymore. And so the trade-off for writers is partly that a lot of writers have good jobs, in universities, which until the middle part of the 20th century, there wasn't anything like that. Writers would work at newspapers. That would be a steady income. Writing paid a little bit more in terms of like the kind of, story outlets would pay a little bit more. But writers were, not supported. And so now there's more support for writers, I think, in terms of their ability to get a job that is a good marriage with their artistic careers. And so I think you just got to try a little harder to see people when you want to see them.
Well, definitely not now, y'all, because it's COVID out
Not
here.
now.
Happen later. Like, please go see them. Let's talk a little bit about your book.
Well, I've got 3 books. So the first one was Good Money After Bad, and that's a novel that is set in the shadows of Wrigley Field about a sports gambler, Chance Skinner, who is funding his increasing gambling losses by submitting himself as a guinea pig to experimental studies. And as he loses more money, he finds more dangerous studies that pay more. And then I put together an anthology of Chicago Cubs literature, kind of a fun book, Cubbie Blues, 100 Years of Waiting Till Next Year. This was before they won the World Series. Winning the World Series made it a little bit obsolete, but it's you know, a variety of poetry, essays, jokes, cartoons, short stories, and so forth. And then a collection of short stories, An Off-White Christmas, and 12 stories that take place in various parts of the country, including Las Vegas.
Yeah, I saw that. You have a story about a gambling spree in Las Vegas, and then Good Money After Bad is also about gambling. Is it safe to say you've done your research?
Yeah, I did a lot of research, but it's been a while. You know, I gambled a lot when I was young. I mean, my family were a lot of 2-bit gamblers. You know, my uncle used to, you know, take me to the racetrack in Chicago all the time. He used to take me to Sportsman's Park, and my Uncle John was a big sports gambler. My uncle had a sports gambler as well. And so I started gambling when I was very young. I think I started making bets through my Uncle John on baseball and football games when I was about 11, maybe. But, you know, it's a story that, you know, and you know how that story ends, and it's never really good. It's not, you know, the odds are against you in any event. And so, you know, I started gambling more and more until I was gambling, you know, on a single game more than I made in a month, you know, and so then it became all about gambling. So eventually I did what most people do, is I stopped because I was, you know, had lost too much money.
So I feel like that subject has been thoroughly researched now.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like your next book will be about?
I need a new addiction, right? No, so I'm trying to finish up a poetry anthology right now, a Chicago poetry anthology. So that'll be the next one. And then I have another book that I've got in draft form that I want to finish up. That is called Listen Up, and it's a young adult novel. It's based on my experiences coaching my son's t-ball teams, but it's a story of a t-ball player and a friend on the team. And then I've also been putting together a series of stories that are set during the pandemic, like the Christmas collection, and different voices and different, you know, sort of points of view on the pandemic, which when I started writing them, I thought, man, I got to get these done. You know, we got a month or so here to, you know, be shut down. And now it turns out that I've had a year to work on stories. I got about a half a dozen of them done. I'd like to do another 4 or 5 of them.
What is your writing process like? Are you a plotter, a pantser? Do you have rituals or anything like that?
Did you say a prancer?
A plotter or a pantser, someone who writes by the seat of their pants.
Oh, a pantser. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get that part. You know, I think that there are, I'm not a plotter in terms of, I don't know what's going to happen necessarily. I have ideas in my head. But my only, you know, rule, which I am constantly breaking because of all these other things that interfere, but if I'm working on a big project and I want to finish it, I know that you got to return to it day after day and keep putting in work, and that way I just keep adding to the story, revising as I go. I think, you know, a big watershed moment in any book is when it gets whole, which is not to say it's done, it's just, you know, in draft form. And then I think the real magic starts to happen, because now you do have it plotted, not necessarily the way it's going to be in the final form, but you can see where things are working, not working, what characters need what, and how to, you know, really start to shape it. So I try to keep adding and not try to fuss as much, you know, until it gets to the whole state.
So what's your revision process like? Or you have Don's Repair Shop. I know that editing is a thing for you. How do you go about it?
Yeah, well, so it's different, you know, for everybody. So the people I work with, you know, I try to meet them on their own terms. I don't think there are no right and wrong answers. You know, there are some things that are sort of universally true, like, you know, like reading great literature helps you be a better writer.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, putting in consistent work is the only way I know of any writers who get big projects done. So there are some general truths that are part of that. But in terms of editing my own stuff, I mean, you know, I'm trying to, so like any writer, during the draft process, I'm exploring. I have an idea what the story is. I know who the characters are, some of them, and then I'm trying to figure out, and in some ways that I'm not even conscious of, you know, what I'm doing, you know, and where the story's going. And so I'm discovering things for myself. And I think at a certain point during this process, again, if you keep coming back to it and back to it and back to it, you start to understand, you know, why this is important to you. And it should be important to you, because any book that you write is going to take you, you know, a good portion of your life, right? Whether, you know, whether you're a fast writer and you get it done in a year, or you're, you know, you're working on a major project and it takes you 10 years. And I know plenty of people like that. It's an investment. And so why are you choosing this instead of that, right? Because you can only pick one, really. I mean, you can juggle a few things, but as you said in your, I thought I could juggle this all. You really can't juggle too many writing projects and get any of them done, right? So when I advise other people, I try to meet them on their terms and see what works for them. And a lot of times, you know, because I'm an outside influence, because I don't have their proximity and their closeness and their, you know, and I have some objectivity, I don't have their subjectivity, I'm able to identify ways that they can immediately start to make progress, right? And
yeah, that's why it's so valuable to have someone else look at your work, because you're in it. You're right there in it. You can't see the things that might be wrong because you know what it's supposed to be.
Right. In many ways, you're the least qualified person to judge your own work. And if you become a good writer, you're an experienced writer, you will understand when you're doing something that's valuable and when you're not. But you know, often, like when I look at a manuscript, the first thing that happens is, you know, I'll be reading it, nothing. Here's something, right? Here's where it starts, right? But the reason why the author cannot identify that those first, you know, 3 paragraphs or 3 pages or 3 chapters are not very dynamic is because they're likely the first things they wrote. So now they've been working on this book for a year, and every time they sit down, they reread those first 3 paragraphs, first 3 pages, first 3 chapters, and it all seems great to them at this point, right? Because it's all cemented in, it's baked into what they think is already done. So they haven't been able to go back and see that, like, if you start the novel in a different place, it's a much more dynamic novel. It's not to say you throw everything out that came before, but maybe that gets, you know, filtered in and sifted in different ways without, you know, 3 pages of backstory that's going to possibly lose your reader.
Wow.
Spoken like a true editor.
Right, I was about to say it. I was about to say, yeah. That's that editor hat that came right on. Like, yes.
I find myself asking that question like this: if you started this as a movie and or television show, how long would your audience stay? If you read your first 3 pages and you recognize that they're not gonna stay, you need to get rid of those 3 pages or put them somewhere else. But anyway,
Yeah, right. I mean, think of it like this. Think of it like when somebody picks up like a book, whether it be a novel or a story or even a book of poetry, essays. It's like when you give somebody a picture album, right? You give them a big fat picture album, and it's got your son's, Cub Scout pictures, and it's got your trip to Lake Geneva, and it's got, your wedding photos. And then all of a sudden, there they are in the wedding photo, and they're like, "Oh, look, yeah, I was at your wedding." Now is when they're interested because they're in the picture. So people are looking for themselves in the book, and until they see themselves, then they're just skipping through it. They're waiting to see something more.
Wow. Okay. So I feel like that is like the best quote to end this thing. Yep. Like to see. I mean, I feel like that is the quote. Like it's so true. And I don't know. I'm a reader, like an avid reader, and it's kind of true.
That's so true. So we should probably ask, where can people read these wonderful books or hire you as the editor to figure out if those first couple of pages actually
and support the nonprofit?
Oh, definitely. I wonder this whole time. All I wanted to ask is, like, if they're considering pop poets for the Literary Hall of Fame.
No, just attend the gala. That's what you meant. To attend the gala.
Yeah.
That's what
I'll tell you what. First of all, if you want to look at some of my writing and look to how to buy my books, you can go to my website, www.donaldgevans.com. The Chicago Literary Hall of Fame does indeed induct poets. We've inducted many great poets and given lifetime achievements to great poets. You could not have a Chicago Literary Hall of Fame without Gwendolyn Brooks and Carl Sandburg, for example. But there are many more. We just gave a Lifetime Achievement Award to Sandra Cisneros, the author of The House on Mango Street, in which more than 1,600 people registered for that event. That was the biggest event we've had. So you can go to the www.chicagoliterary, LITERARYHOF, as in hallofame.org, and you can learn all about it. There's indexes of authors, bookstores, and so forth. But I'll tell you what, if you want to come to a gala, first of all, we've never had a gala, but let's say we have one. There's a new board and they're talking about a gala. And that always makes me nervous because I grew up in a very blue collar family, blue collar neighborhood. My dad was a CTA bus driver, Chicago Transit Authority. My mom worked in a trophy factory. In fact, my wife, Margaret, when we first moved to Chicago, we moved to Oak Park, which we were right on the border of Chicago and Oak Park, right? So we walked across our alley when we were in Chicago. So after we got our house here in Oak Park, and Margaret grew up in Palo Alto, and her father's a math genius and is, and a very liberal atmosphere and some money there, right? And so we were downtown when we first moved to Oak Park. We'd been there for a long time doing different things. And then we get to the end of the day and it's dark now. And Margaret says to me, "Well, why don't we just take a cab home?" And I looked at her because it had never in a million years occurred to me. I said, "A cab?" She said, "Yeah, let's take a cab home." I said, "Margaret, let me tell you something. My grandma had 5 kids. The 5th one was my Uncle Ed. When she was pregnant with my Uncle Ed, my grandpa was in an insane asylum, which he wouldn't come out of for 15 years. So it was just my grandma at home. The kids were all too young. They didn't own a car. So when she went into labor with my Uncle Ed, not only did she take a bus to the hospital, but she had to transfer twice." I said, "Margaret, we're not taking a fucking cab back home." And so we took the bus. But it just makes me nervous, the word gala, it's just like from my roots, I just can't, it makes me uncomfortable. But let's say we have a gala, which I have been to many and they're fun. We'll try to make the gala the same time as the Taste of Chicago. And then you guys can come to the gala and you can also zip out of there and go to the Taste of Chicago. There's a great place. So you were talking about restaurants. Mm-hmm. Overlooking Millennium Park is a private club called the Cliff Dwellers. And Chicago Literary Hall of Fame has had a long association with them, and they give me a free membership. So I can go there whenever I want, and I can bring whoever I want. And it has this great view of the lake, Millennial Park. You can see all the way to the Ferris wheel on Navy Pier. You can see the other way to Promontory Point, all the way into Hyde Park and the Field Museum and so forth. And they've got a great restaurant, you know, for dinner, great staff. So that's the place to go. You go to the Cliff Dwellers, then you go to our gala, and you go to Taste of Chicago.
Okay.
Oh, wait, will you take us if I promise to pay for your water with extra ice?
Welcome to Winona. One of the cheapest people you don't ever want to know.
I'll even pay for a lime slice.
I'd be happy to take it. I love when people come to town. Of course, this hasn't happened now for over a year, but I love when people come to town, because one of the things about living in a place for a long time and it being a place that you love is that there are places that you never go to, like Taste of Chicago. You know, I don't go there until, you know, somebody comes into town. Now, having a child, you know, when I had Dusty when he was young, that was an excuse to do all these things that I had stopped doing, you know, like going to, you know, the amusement parks and to, you know, the various parks and so forth. But now Dusty's 17, and there are, you know, less places that I can drag him because I want to go. But yeah, the pandemic's over, the gala's set, and I'd be happy to take you guys. I'll take you.
Oh, we're definitely there. Like anything in Chicago, we're basically down for it, because we're like, oh, we get to take it off on taxes and we get to eat.
And one of the 3 charities that we support is actually headquartered in Chicago.
No, like really outside of Chicago, place. And we get to go see the charity person. Yes.
What charity?
It's the Echo Foundation.
And what do they do?
It's really cool. Actually, she will be in the upcoming 25 Hottest Indie Authors Artist Advocate. Wow. You know what? I got to sneak that plug right in there. I'm excited for it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We are having a blast, but you know, we are super overtime. So can you tell us one more time where we can find your books and support your the nonprofit?
Yes. So my book, just go to my website, www.donaldgevans.com. The G is for my middle name, Gerard, the patron saint of motherhood, because I was adopted. So donaldgevans.com, and then ChicagoLiteraryHallOfFame.org. And you can find out a lot of things about Chicago writers and about what we do and when we do them. And I know that there's been like this transition when you're doing the post-edit. You started out with a book that you were trying to get situated near the flower pot. And then the book was covered with leaves, so you couldn't see the title. And then you could see the title. And then I don't know when it happened, but now there's no book. I don't know when it's.
Well, as many of the lady shows go.
Well, it was great meeting you guys, and thank you so much. And keep in touch. And I'm serious. You guys come to Chicago?
Oh yeah. You will be getting frantic emails like, "Hello, we need good places." Thank you so much for coming on the show, Tanya. Where can people find out more about you? Wow.
I'm across social media at Ms. Tanya Todd, my website, MsTanyaTodd.com. You can find me on YouTube and Spotify at the 52 Love Podcast, and on IMDb, just search for Tanya Todd.
Thank you so much. Y'all click those buttons. She needs more jobs, or like bigger jobs so we can eat well. I don't know.
Clicks are free. That's all you need to say.
All right.
And yeah, you can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com. While you're there, go to the homepage and check out the Ladies Tale podcast. Yes, there's some really fun things happening on there, especially when the actors read well-known script, but also some great interviews too. And then you go to the Ladies tab. More importantly than all of that, go to the Ladies tab, go to the middle, see the charities that we probably support. Maybe support them also. And if you just want all of this in like one page, where can they go?
www.andithoughtLadies.com.
All right, remember, y'all, wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona
and Jade. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, thanks for listening.